Hi, welcome to Dreamsical Designs by Danielle. While most people like wearing costumes for Halloween, I prefer something a little different. Halloween themed fashion, like this dress I'm wearing right now with its cute ghost print. It features a round neckline, fitted sleeves, and a flared skirt for that classic skater dress shape. In this video, I will take you from first pattern to final stitch and share my design process and essential sewing techniques to help you bring creations like this to life, including my go-to method for how to add a lining. Let's get started. The beauty of basic blocks is that you never have to start the pattern making process from scratch. Once you've created and perfected the fit, they become a solid foundation, allowing you to design anything you can dream of with ease and confidence. If you don't yet have basic blocks, I've got you covered. Watch my other videos on how to draft those. With that in mind, follow along as I show you just how easy these design transformations can be. For this video, I'll be using clear acetate paper and a red marker to make everything clear and easy to follow. The traditional skater dress neckline is a round neckline, and it's easy to create. Starting with the stretch edition of my front basic bodice block, I mark the ending location of my round neckline at roughly 1 inch below my center front. Next, I draw the curve of the round neckline using my flexible curve ruler. Since I'm making a dress, my bodice block ends at my waistline. Now I true the back neckline so it flows perfectly into the front neckline curve. This was actually something that I often forgot to do in my beginner days of pattern making, but makes a huge difference in the final sewn neckline and having that smooth curve from front to back. The simplest way, lay the front and back necklines together at the shoulder seam, then use a flexible curve ruler to draw one smooth curve connecting them. This way, everything matches up beautifully when you sew. A fitted sleeve is designed to follow your arm's natural shape. It's roomiest at the bicep where you need movement, then tapers gently down to the wrist for a sleek silhouette. Starting with the stretch edition of my basic sleeve block, I take in the wrist line to achieve that fitted look, then redraw the line connecting my bicep line to my wrist line. I love flared skirts. Effortlessly graceful, universally flattering, and an absolute joy to twirl in. The flared skirt is created using the slash and spread method. Starting with my basic skirt block, I divide it into 3 equal segments based on the waistline. Next, I cut along the vertical lines starting from the bottom of my skirt and stopping just before I reach the waistline. This was the slash part. Now I am ready to start spreading my cut pieces. The more you spread the pieces, the more flared the skirt will be. I decided to spread my pieces by about 3.5 inches apart. Once happy with the spread, I use tape to hold the pieces in place. To finish up my skirt, I redraw the side curve, extending it straight down from the waist through the hip to the new skirt hem. Then I reshape the hem with my flexible ruler, ensuring it intersects the side seam at a 90-degree angle. And that's it for my design process. Here are my 4 final pattern pieces. 2 essential steps I never skip before starting my sewing process for stretchy fabrics are to apply interfacing strips within the seam allowance on the back shoulder seams of my main and lining fabrics, and to stay stitch the neckline and armhole curves to prevent stretching. First step is to attach the front and back bodice of the dress at the shoulder and side seams. I do this for both my main dress fabric and lining. A helpful tip when sewing stretchy fabrics is to use a walking foot or a knit foot. In my case, my fabric kept getting caught in the walking foot, so I opted for my knit foot. I start by placing my 2 skirt pieces right sides together, clip them in place, and sew from the waist to the hem. I do this for both my main skirt fabric and lining. For the hem, I simply fold up the raw edge once at the seam allowance and top stitch around the perimeter. This creates a clean finish while taking advantage of my knit fabric's non-fraying properties. The next step is to place my skirt and bodice pieces right sides together at the waistline, clipping them in place and sewing around the circumference. I place the side seams of my sleeve right sides together and sew down the edge. Same as with the hem for my skirt, I simply fold up the raw edge once at the seam allowance and top stitch around the perimeter of the wrist line. Now to attach my sleeves to my dress bodice. Here's my process for attaching sleeves. To prep the sleeve armholes for sewing, I place 2 rows of basting stitches in between the armhole notches and within the seam allowance. On my second row of basting stitch, I increase the tension of my sewing machine to a 6 to auto gather the fabric. I place the sleeve armhole and bodice armhole right sides together, lining up my side and shoulder seams. Then I finesse the gathered fabric to evenly distribute it, smoothing out any puckers for a clean finish. Before using the sewing machine, I prefer to hand sew a basting stitch to keep everything in place. This extra step makes machine sewing faster and easier, as it prevents the fabric from shifting. Finally, I attach the lining to the dress at the neckline. I place the main fabric and lining right sides together, clip around the edges, and line up the shoulder seams. This way, when I flip the lining to the inside, the softer, seam-free side will be against my skin, so it feels smooth and comfy when worn. Then I sew around the neckline on my machine. After that, I clip into the seams so the curve lays nicely when worn. I move the lining to the inside of the dress, press the neckline flat, and add a top stitch for a clean finish. And that's it. My dress is done. Let's take a moment to appreciate how beautiful and spooky fun this dress turned out. It's the perfect mix of playful and polished. Exactly what I meant when I said earlier that while most people dress up in costumes for Halloween, I prefer Halloween-themed fashion. This ghost print dress lets me celebrate the season in my own subtle but festive way. If you'd wear something like this, or if you'd rather go full zombie glam, let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more sewing adventures. Until next time, happy haunting!